No.
Why not?
Because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix?
Do you want to know what it is?
Have you ever stopped to consider who really controls the financial system that runs our world? Is it the US president? Is it the communist nation dictators? Or perhaps it's the big corporates, Amazon, Facebook, or Tesla? Or maybe it's all of them and more, all simply because they are part of an elusive group of stupidly wealthy and powerful people, the elitist 1%. The truth is, none of these guys really control anything, and in reality, they too are being controlled. Let's unveil the truth of who is actually controlling the current debt-driven financial system that we will now call the financial matrix. Much of what you do and earn happens with the permission of the financial matrix, and 99% of people don't even know it. No, we're not talking about the Illuminati, mind control, or aliens. It's a lot simpler than that, as you're about to find out. The financial matrix is made up of the centralized banking powers, the brokers, the agents, the intermediaries, and the money counters. These are the people that have built the financial matrix. A centralized system of finance and technology that brings all the benefits to them and none to you. It sucks up billions of your hard-earned money right out of your pocket with your consent, while the wool is being pulled over your eyes. At the top of the matrix are the controllers, the central banking magnates, reserve banks and central banks. Then under them you've got their generals, the banking institutions and the massive corporates, and then big anything, big pharma, big insurance, big corporations, big social media, etc. Lower down the matrix are the paper pushers, regulators, auditors, exchanges, clearinghouses, watchdogs, and bureaucrats. The matrix's foot soldiers are the brokers, lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, and insurance guys. Chances are you know a few of these guys. You may even be one without even knowing it. Everything that feels off in the financial world right now, the soaring debt, the sky-high asset prices, zero interest rates, the mountains of printed money, it's all a result of the financial matrix breaking down. For too long, your money has been used as the lifeblood of the financial matrix. But now something profound is happening. The matrix is being exposed. The controllers are getting greedy, and in doing so, they are losing control of the financial matrix, exposing the greed, the corruption, and the bias. And in 2021, we sit at a crucial crossroads. A new awakening is being set up by a gutsy band of technologists, cryptographers, economists, and early adopters. They saw what was going on a long time ago, and they have spent the past decade creating an alternate financial system. One that's currently operating in parallel with the old one. This new world of money is built on the principles of free markets, individual rights, and liberties. This new decentralized financial system is going to change everything, and it will positively affect your life, the internet, the future, the financial world, and even money itself. The world is shaking off its financial shackles and attempting to break control. It's working to become decentralized, and in doing so, the concept of money and wealth and financial freedom is being rewritten. As the people, you and me, start to learn about this new set of rules for saving, investing, and wealth creation, a new system that benefits everyone will emerge as the dominant financial system. This new financial system is a whole new ballgame, and it's going to be the biggest disruptor of our time. To be part of it, you'll need to know the rules, learn how to understand them, how to play by them, and crucially, how to profit from them. Once you know, that is when you, like Neo in the movie, can make the decision to either unplug yourself from the money-hungry, money-sucking financial matrix and finally have a real opportunity at financial freedom, or you can keep slogging away, getting nowhere. The choice is yours.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Good morning, good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. And I'd like to welcome you tonight. And if you're still here, I'm going to assume that you have decided to take the red pill and you're going to allow us to take you down the rabbit hole. Give me 1 second while I share my screen and show you what we see the facts are right now. So here are the facts that we see right now. The next evolution of the internet and finance is here. The world is currently seeing the biggest transfer of wealth since the internet. What we know is the next evolution of the internet and finance is being built right now and Web 3.0, crypto and blockchain is at its heart. We believe that this is the greatest investment opportunity of our lifetime, and it's bigger than the internet ever was. Imagine being able to invest in the protocols that were being designed 20, 25 years ago to build the World Wide Web, like protocols like Amazon, Facebook, Google, Netflix, all these technologies and all these applications and platforms that we use on a daily basis today. This is the opportunity that is available to us and you through crypto and the blockchain. Now, before I get started, we promised you guys you are going to walk away today with a blueprint, a financial blueprint, a financial freedom blueprint that we're going to go through. So this is going to be an interactive workshop. So what we asked you guys to do, what we've made for you guys is a handout and a workbook. So if you click on that link, it should be in your chat. You can download the workbook, try to print it while I'm speaking, because I am going to get to it at the end of my segment, and as well, Michael's going to go through it through his segment. So make sure you go through that. It's in your chat right now. Download it, print it, and let's get started. So before we really dive in and look at the nitty-gritty of what we're going to talk about, we need to give you guys the risks and the disclaimer. What we know, first of all, we are not financial advisors. So anything we say is not financial advice. We don't know you. We don't know your personal financial situation. So everything we say is not financial advice. It's just general advice, general information. All strategies are general and not necessarily tailored to your individual situation. Always do your own research. When it comes to any investment, one of the biggest things I've learned is when it comes to investing, you need to take responsibility and you need to do your own research. And if you are unsure about this space, you should always consult your financial advisor. Crypto has many, many risks, and people can and have lost all their money. And that's not what we want for you guys. Always be careful investing, especially in altcoins, because they can lose their value very, very fast. But that's what we love about crypto, the volatility, because through the volatility is where we can make our gains and make our profits. So who am I? Actually, before I get started, at any given moment, you have the opportunity to say, this is not how I'm going to end. And today can potentially be one of those opportunities. Today could be the opportunity where you discover something that can take your life in a completely different direction, like I did when I first discovered crypto. And I'm going to tell you my story of how I got into crypto and how, I faced financial ruin due to COVID, and crypto was the opportunity that allowed me to, recoup part, if not most of my losses through COVID. But I'll get to that in a moment. For you to get the most out of tonight and the most out of today, what I'd like you to do is just make sure you pay 100% attention, be attentive and engage with the content. Put down any distracting mobiles, close down any web browsers, sit in a quiet area and have a notepad and have a pen and print out the workbook that we gave you. Because the information we're going to share with you tonight can potentially change your life. I know it's changed my life, and I know it's changing the lives of many, many people around the world. And I'm so excited to be sharing this information with you. Now, who am I? My name is Wassim, and I'm a loving father and husband of over 20 years. I've got 3 beautiful boys and an amazing wife that supports me through my journey. I struggled with negative mindset. Growing up, I was born in a war-torn country. I'm Lebanese by background. I came to Australia when I was 10 years old. So being brought up in a war-torn country was hard enough, but coming to Australia and having English as my third language was even harder. Well, to add to that, I have a lisp. Now, when my name has 4 S's in it, so you can imagine growing up in Southwest Sydney, it wasn't a fun time. I was bullied, I was teased, and I developed sarcasm and humor as a form of defense. Now, when I got married and I had my first son, I wanted to find a way which I can provide more for my family. And that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. In 2003, my wife took time off work when we had our first child. And I realized at that time I had a massive, massive debt of about $450,000. Now, that might not be a lot in today's terms, but when you're making $40,000 a year, that was a huge amount of debt for us. So I went out and I started looking for a second income opportunity. Now, back in 2003, unlike today, there was no online jobs. So when you go online, you usually find network marketing. So I got involved in network marketing. That led me to personal development, and that opened up my eyes to entrepreneurship. And I've been a serial entrepreneur since then. I've been 17 or 18 years now. I've got to update that slide. 18 years I've been in sales and marketing. My first ever business, I wanted to get into sales. I discovered that I love sales. I love helping people. I love being out there talking to people, and that was my passion. But at the time, I had an IT degree, and I had an IT degree, and I worked in IT for about a year, and I got out of that real quick because I didn't like that role. So I became a teacher, and that wasn't me either. So I wanted to get into sales, but not having any sales experience, I found it really, really challenging to get a good sales job. So what I did was I went and started my own company, and I spent the next 9 months door knocking to build my business. And I grew that business from a product company with some promotional products, branded items and whatnot, to a full marketing consulting firm. Excuse me. My papers are falling. Now that showed me the confidence I have in myself and the belief in myself that I can do anything if I put my mind to it. And that led me down the past 18 years of having multiple different businesses, including gyms, cafes, e-commerce stores, marketing consulting, as well as promotional products. I've also worked for some very, very large organizations. In fact, I was the #1 salesperson in the pharmaceutical industry for the role that I was in, bringing in over $4 million in the territory that I looked after. And then I lost it all due to COVID. Now, as you can imagine, as a man in his early 40s, being a father of 3 beautiful children, having an amazing wife, when you lose the opportunity to make your income or to bring in income and be the breadwinner of the family, it can be very emasculating. And that's when I hit my lowest point in my life, and I went down a bad spiral of depression, severe depression, and extreme stress. And that is during that time that I was given the opportunity, and the crypto opportunity presented itself. However, I wasn't interested. You see, like many people, I didn't know much about crypto. And back in 2007, I wanted to get into crypto because it was all over the news, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, crypto this, crypto that. And I was really, really interested. However, at the time, I had a full-time business. I was running a gym and I had a full-time job. So having the time and doing my own research, which is what I just told you guys to do, I didn't do that. So I made the mistake of investing in crypto without doing my own research. I had a friend of mine call me up, say, hey, I got involved in this company. They do crypto investment, this and that, and they were a network marketing company. They turned out to be Ponzi scheme. At the end of the bull cycle, when there was a major pullback in the market, that company just disappeared off the face of the planet, and all of our money was lost. Not just me, my friend also, and the people that he invited and the people that invited him. So we all got dragged into this massive worldwide scam. So today, and this time around, I am rebuilding through crypto, but I'm doing it the right way. You see, during the depths of my depression, I had my best friend and ex-business partner come to me and speak to me about crypto. And I was like, brother, look, I'm losing everything right now. I've got to deal with the banks. I've got to deal with lawyers. I've got to shut down my business. I've got to sell my family home. I've got to find a new place to live. And there was so much going on. I wasn't interested in looking at crypto. But sometimes opportunities come to you. There's an old saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So a few months later, another friend of mine sent me an invitation to go to a crypto webinar. And I saw the message, I was still dealing with all this stuff that I'm dealing. I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot on my back. And I was like, I'm not interested in this. Funnily enough, my personal assistant was. So she went and registered me for this webinar. And when she did, she was interested. I said, you know what, if you're interested in this, you go watch. I'm not interested. And I remember it very, very clearly. It was a Thursday night in mid-January. And what happened was I was watching, I was sitting down doing some work, and the reminder comes up. And I was like, you know what? I'm sitting here doing emails. I'm doing some work. I might as well just listen in the background. And I started listening. And Michael came on the screen. I want to introduce you guys to Michael very, very soon. Michael came up on the screen and he started talking about crypto and the opportunity and where Bitcoin was, where Bitcoin is and where it's going, and altcoins and the financial system and the money printing and all the stuff that I kind of had an idea of, but I didn't really understand. But then as Michael spoke, I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. I should start paying attention. But by the time I paid attention, most of the webinar was gone. So next day, I contacted him. I go, listen, I need a copy of this webinar. I want to watch it all over again. I want to give it the attention that it needs. And then they sent me a copy of the webinar. We'll go fishing on the weekend. Long story short, I spent the whole day speaking about crypto. Got in contact with Michael and the team at Breakout Solutions. I said, guys, I want to know more about this. Got into a conversation. A few weeks later, I was fortunate enough to have just sold one of my properties, and I had a little bit of money coming in. I said, this is all I have. I'm losing everything. I'm going to have a little bit of money left, and I need to rebuild 21 years of building for my family, for my future, for my kids. It was all gone. I needed something to rebuild, and this crypto opportunity really got my attention. So we got into a conversation. A couple of weeks later, I became a client. When I started seeing the results, I was like, wow. I got to tell my friends and my family about this. And I did. I started doing more research. I started investigating and watching more videos, consuming as much as I can about Bitcoin, about crypto, about blockchains, and where it is, where it's going in the future. And I became addicted to it in a way. So I started telling my friends, and at the time I was building a coaching business, a business coaching and personal development, because I've been in personal development for 17 years. And when I realized how great opportunity this is, I started telling my clients, I'm like, hey, if you guys want financial freedom, you want another option to get things in, guys, can you just get the door? If you want financial freedom and you want to get something to get you going to the future, this is something you want to look at. And as I started sharing with my clients, they started jumping in. And then a couple of weeks later, a couple of months later, I was like, man, I want to speak to Michael, I want to speak to Phil, and I want to get involved more in this. And the opportunity came up for me to take on the head of marketing and community engagement. Long story short, here I am today, from someone who was completely against crypto to having an interest, to becoming a raving fan, to now working full-time in crypto. And so passionate about getting the message out to everyone, because I believe you owe it to yourself to at least explore this opportunity. Whether you jump in or not, regardless, you owe it to yourself to jump to get this opportunity. Give me 1 second. I'll get someone knocking at the door. Wendy, Baba, there's someone at the door and I'm doing a presentation. Please come down. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. My office is right at the front door and there's someone knocking. Anyway, so I believe you owe it to yourself to at least explore this opportunity, because the last thing I want is 4 or 5 years down the track when this opportunity really and adoption gets to where we know it's going to be, and Michael's going to go through that. I don't want you to think back and say, I wish I got involved. It's the same as Facebook, Amazon, or even Microsoft back in the 70s. If we had the opportunity to get in, or even getting in with Warren Buffett back in the 70s when he started, this is the opportunity available to you today. So please pay attention and allow us to show you what it is. So before we get into that, we need to really understand the challenges that the world is facing and the current money system that we have. So first of all, when you want to pay for something, whether it's online or in the real world, you go through a third-party intermediary. You go through using your bank card, or you make a transaction online. That transaction sends a request to your bank, who then processes the transaction. The bank checks whether you have the money, then takes the money out of your account and puts it in the account of the receiver. Now, what the bank does by doing that is they take a fee. This is how banks make their money, whether it's banking systems, whether it's PayPal, any of the financial payment gateways. They take a fee and they make millions and billions of dollars out of it. Then they send the money over to the recipient. And this is one of the big problems today. These banks expect us to trust them, even though we have seen over and over again over the years that these banks and governments debase their own currency. Think of the many countries around the world, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Greece, whether it's Cyprus, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's Brazil, all these countries where their money has been debased and people lost millions and millions of dollars overnight. How can we trust them? And this is why when I look into crypto and the blockchain technology, I was like, this is a fairer system. So let's look at what blockchain actually, or how the blockchain technology works. If you want to buy something, you send a request for a transaction. Then that goes to a decentralized system, completely different than the central banks that control everything. This decentralized system is like your Napster, your torrents, where there are multiple nodes all around the world that house the same information. So if one computer goes down, the rest of the network actually defends the network and the information is still there. Now, by doing so, this decentralized network now validates whether you have those funds to be sent or not. Once the validation is done, they create a block that goes at the end of the blockchain. Now, blockchain technology is simply, if you think of it in accounting terms, is just a ledger. So just information going in after another. You just add money coming in, money coming out, money coming in, money coming out. And then once that's done, it goes on the end of the blockchain, and it can never, ever be changed. And that's how the recipient is guaranteed to get their money, and the money is taken out of your account. And then the recipient gets their money. Now, this now takes away this third-party intermediary. We don't need the banks anymore. We can directly send money to each other. Like if I was to see you on the street and give you cash, this is pretty much the same way of giving you cash electronically without the need of a third-party trust organization. So what is the origin of cryptocurrencies? The origin of cryptocurrencies pretty much came from a group of individuals who were fed up with the amount of control the banks have. They were fed up with how much money the banks make, and they wanted to find a system which we can have an electronic payment system. However, the challenge has always been, how do you stop double spending? How can we be sure that this person is giving you the money, they're not spending it somewhere else? And that's where blockchain technology came about and cryptocurrency started, is to give a trustless system without the use of a third-party intermediary. So what I want to do tonight, before I hand over to Michael, we said to you guys it's going to be an interactive workshop. The first thing you need to do when you're doing anything in life is create your goals. When you have a goal in your mind that you want to achieve and you keep working towards that goal, you now have a direction. So what we're going to go through right now is a model that I've created called the Devise Your Goals model. So if you've got your workbooks, it should be on page number 2. Pull that out, and that's going to give you the next slide that I'm going to go through. So when we're talking about device, we've all heard of smart, we've heard of different things. This is something a little bit different that I've created because I put a process on the end of it that we're going to go through at the end. So first thing you want to do is make sure your goal is dated and is driven to the positive. So you have a clear date and a clear outcome that is a positive outcome for you and those around you. You want it to become you want it to be ecological. What I mean by ecological is good for you, it's good for others, and it's good for the world. I'm all about positivity and doing good in the world and having an impact in the world. So your goals should be a goal that's going to make life better for you or those that you love or even the world in general. You also want to make sure it's verified and realistic. If you're making $30,000 a year right now and you want to make $1 million over the next 12 months, potentially you can if you have the resources, but you've got to ask yourself, is this realistic? Is it verified? You know, if you're 150 kilos, you want to get to 75 kilos in 6 weeks, is that really realistic unless you cut off a limb? So we want to make sure it's realistic so that our unconscious mind can actually picture it happening and can believe that it's actually happening. So this is what we mean by verified and realistic. Then we want to make it in the moment. So when we write our goals, I want to go through a process with you in the next slide of exactly how to write your goals so that your conscious mind as well as your unconscious mind work together to help you achieve that goal. A lot of the time people write goals, but they write it in a way that is not self-serving and actually can be detrimental. And this process and this goal setting that I've created is going to help you write it in the positive and in the moment. You want to be specific and you want to state it clearly. So this is something also you want to be very, very clear on your outcome. And you want to know what your end step is. And this is, you want to know what it looks like when you achieved your goal. Not I want more money, because I can give you $1 and have more money. How much specifically do you want to do? And what's that going to mean for you? What's that going to mean for emotionally, physically, for those people around you? We want to look at all of that. Because to bring anything into your life, you've got to first of all imagine that it's already there. So let's go in and start writing our device goals. I'm going to give you guys my own example. In your workbook on page number 3, you'll have a blank template. It's also going to have these examples, but I'll have a blank template down the bottom. So you want to write your goal, it is now, and then the set date. And I am doing something and I have X. So for me, one of my goals is, for example, is in this example that I've done is now the 31st of December of 2021. And I'm in my office and I'm looking at my crypto portfolio. I just realized I got capital earlier. And I'm looking at my crypto portfolio and I have a $1 million portfolio. Now, I asked myself the question, can I picture myself in my office looking at my crypto portfolio? Yes, I can. I do that almost every day. Is it achievable for me to have $1 million portfolio by the end of the year? Well, knowing what I know about crypto and what you guys are going to see, I truly believe that is something I can achieve. So that is the goal that I have. Another one, which is more of a longer term goal, is it's now the 31st of June, 2024, and I'm standing in our new $3 million home that I have purchased with my crypto profits. I've purchased outright with my crypto profits. Because as I said to you guys, the challenges I had with the banks, my goal now moving forward is I'm not going to buy any property unless I can pay for it outright, because I don't want to deal with the banks. So then I asked myself, in 4 years' time, or 3 years' time from now, is this an achievable goal? Knowing what I know about crypto, knowing that I have the support of Michael and I have the support of the breakout team, and knowing the things that we are actually doing, then this is an achievable goal for me. I can actually close my eyes and envision. I have a clear vision of exactly what the house looks like. I have a vision of what I'm wearing. I have a vision of what my wife is wearing, how we're feeling, what sounds are going on. And that's exactly the process we're going to do for you guys. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes and we'll do it exactly probably 2 minutes. So 3:30 right now. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. And I want you guys to start writing these goals down in your workbook. Write down at least one goal so that we can do the strategic vision exercise. And then I'm giving you this in your workbook. You continuously do it over and over again for yourself, not just for your financial goals, but for any goal. So start writing down now what it is that you want to achieve. What's the date? Is it 6 months down the track? Is it 12 months? Is it 3 years down the track? Write a specific date in your goal. If somebody want to share, if somebody's done it, I want to open up the chat. Where's the chat function? There it is. Okay. Thank you for that, Michael. Now, somebody want to share a goal that they have, that they've written. We're going to keep it open for a couple of minutes, guys. The more you engage in this, remember, the way you do one thing in life is the way you do everything. And by showing up and playing full out, you're going to get the most out of this. If you're going to sit there be passive, you're not going to get the information. Research has shown that as humans, we learn by actively doing things. The more we involve all of our senses, the more we're going to learn. Listening, research has shown that when you listen to something after 24, 48 hours, most of it's gone out of your head. But if you start engaging in it and start playing along and playing full out, you're going to get a lot out of it. So does anybody here want to share? If you guys don't want to share, that's fine. I'm happy to continue doing it, but I really would like for you guys to share. Write it in there, guys. Come on. Or even if you don't want to write it, just say you've done it. If you guys have done it and you don't want to share it, that's also fine. Just let me know that you've written it, then we can move on to the next process. Okay, so 2 minutes is up. We're going to start the next process. So the next process now is the strategic visioning. So now what I want you guys to do, I want you guys to all read your goal first. Make sure that you know the goal off by heart and you know exactly what you're doing and where it is. You know the exact date, you know the exact feeling. And I want you now to close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, I want you to close your eyes and start to go ahead and step right into that goal. When you close your eyes, imagine that you are right there in that goal, looking through your own eyes, feeling the feelings around you, hearing the sounds around you, seeing who's there. Imagine that you're presently there in that goal as you've achieved it. Who's around you? What are you wearing? What are they wearing? What are they saying? What sounds are you hearing? What taste do you have in your mouth? The more of the senses that you engage right now, the realer it becomes, the more realistic it becomes for your unconscious mind. Because what we know is the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality. So close your eyes and go right ahead and step into that goal. And as you step into that goal, I want you to look through your own eyes, hearing the things that you're hearing, seeing the things that you're seeing, and feeling the emotions that you're feeling. Now, if that picture is black and white, I want you to change it to color. If it's bright, I want you to change the bright. If the brightness is too dim or it's too bright, I want you to change that brightness so that's just perfectly right for you. And imagine yourself being there. Bask in the feelings that you're feeling. Now, for the next part, I want you to take a step out of your body, leaving yourself in the picture. And I want you to take a picture of you standing there. For me, when I do this, I have a mental photo of myself standing in my office door, looking at myself, looking at my portfolio. So I want you to imagine that picture of you achieving that goal. What does it feel like? And take that picture in your hands. And I want you now to energize that picture with 3 aha breaths. And when you do that, I want you now to rise above your time stream. And I want you to look to the future. Look towards that date where that goal is. And I want you to float all the way over to that date. Looking at that date, looking at that picture, happy, excited, knowing that you are going to achieve this goal. And I want you to drop this picture down exactly in the date that you said it would be. Now, when you do that, I want you to turn back and look back to the past and look how everything that needed to happen has happened to make this moment come true. And now I want you to look to the future from that moment. And I want you to see a bright, exciting future where all your dreams and all your goals are being achieved and you're on your way to your financial freedom, to where you want to be in life, whatever that looks like for you. Look to the future and see it happening. And enjoy and know deep down inside that this is going to happen. It's waiting for you down the track because you have made the commitment today to move forward towards this. And as you do, and as you bask in the feelings and the emotions of achieving that goal, I want you now to turn around and I want you to come back to now with a smile on your face, knowing you have this goal waiting for you in the future. You've set it so deep down in your unconscious mind that now your unconscious mind is going to look for ways to achieve this without you even knowing. And as you do that, I want you to feel those feelings of happiness, of excitement, of inner peace, or whatever it is that is for you. And as you come back down into the room, I want you to open your eyes, knowing that you have set this goal out there for you, and trust yourself, trust your unconscious mind that is going to help you, is going to work with you to get you towards that goal. And now as you come back into the room and you open your eyes, smile and be happy and excited for what's going to come for you moving forward. Thank you very much for that, guys. Now, before I hand over to Michael, I'm going to introduce Michael. Look, Michael has become a very, very dear friend of mine. This man knows his stuff. He knows the crypto world inside and out. He's been in the financial markets for over 10 years. Michael is the co-founder and head of strategy and tech for Breakout Solutions. He is a software developer by degree and by trade, I suppose. He's a tech visionary and a founder of multiple companies. He's ultra successful. He started his first business at the age of 16. It was an IT business that he went and sold to a much larger company a few years later. He founded Easy Employer at the age of 22. And literally, I don't know if Michael wants to share these, but I will anyway. It was a university project that turned into a business. And now he's got over 30 staff, 7-figure income, and with locations over five different locations. He's the director of the company of technology group called 360 Technology Group, which has 4 companies under it. He's an investor and trader since 2013, and he started with stocks, Forex, options, as well as the digital asset space. So he's been around for a while. If you want someone who knows what they're talking about, he's your man. He's also over 20x his digital asset portfolio to multiple 6 figures in the 2017 bull run. When I lost my money, he was multiplying his money. I wish I knew him back then. And lastly, he is passionate, just as passionate as I am, about teaching people about the digital asset space, because he understands, we both understand how great of opportunity this is. So I want to pass over to Michael, guys. Give him the respect and give him the attention that he deserves, because he is going to give you information that's potentially going to change your life. Over to you, Michael.
Thanks, Wassim. Just if you can stop your screen share, I'll just make sure mine's working okay. All right. What do you got on the screen there, mate? Just double check for me. Chuck me a yes in the chat, guys, if you can hear me, see me, and you've got a slide on the screen talking about money printing.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful. All right, great. So I'm going to go through a bunch of content today for you guys. I'm going to try and make it pretty interactive as well. And look, I've been very fortunate to do quite well out of this space, and I spend the majority of my time helping others, our clients, our members, our community. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a story today, or a bit of a process. So the first thing I want you to understand is how out of control money printing is at the moment. 35% of the world's US dollar circulation, more I think now, was printed in 2020, and over half that's ever been printed was printed in 2020. And the central banks and the governments they're trying to achieve this because it helps them fight their debt burden. And so what this means for the average person is that your money, if you don't invest it, is losing value every year, up to 10 to 14% every year. So after 8 years, you've lost around 80% of your value. So it's very, very important to actually do something with your money at the moment. Otherwise, you lose what's known as your purchasing power. Now, there's a couple of things this is going to result in. There's this great reset that the big guys are talking about, but a very common thing, or a very likely thing, is going to be inflation. And you're probably already seeing that, where things are just going to start to cost more. And so if you're not getting more buying power from your money, then it's just going to make it very, very hard for you to even just live the standard of life you're living now, let alone reach financial freedom. So what has been a really good way to protect your money against this inflation that's been happening? Well, if you look at Bitcoin, if you had to put $100 into all of these investments, Bitcoin's returned over 44 million %. So that $100 over the last, since 2009 has turned into 44.55 million. In any of these other stocks, some of them you've done all right. Amazon, you've 60 times your money, Apple, etc. But Bitcoin's been the best store of value over this time. In fact, it's been the fastest asset to reach $1 trillion. So Microsoft did it in 44 years, Apple in 42, Amazon 24, Google 21. Bitcoin did it in 12 years. And Ethereum's looking at doing it even faster. So that just shows you how fast this space is moving and how powerful this asset is. Now, a lot of people just compare Bitcoin to other stocks. Yes, it's bigger than Visa, Tesla, Facebook. And yes, it's catching Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple. But you've got to understand that Bitcoin is a revolutionary monetary network. It's a whole monetary network. It's the first that we've ever seen. And so you need to start comparing it to other forms of money, like gold, which is about 12 times its market cap, or other forms of money. So there is so much more growth to happen in this asset class. People who are just comparing it to other companies are missing the whole point. Now, if you are skeptical, I don't blame you. The media's been bashing Bitcoin for years, all the way back to 2014. So Wired Magazine, Rise and Fall of Bitcoin, Forbes, so that's the end of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's doomed to fail. Bitcoin's a joke. Bitcoin's still doomed to fail. New York Times. Bitcoin's a Ponzi. Bitcoin's dead. So this has been going on as far as, this was all up until 2017. This has happened so many times. In fact, there is an actual website dedicated towards how many times the media has said that Bitcoin has died. And it's more than 426 now. This is from a few weeks ago, these slides. Now, it's not the first time they've been wrong, is it? So here was another thing that they said. There is no reason anyone would want a computer in their home, which is hilarious. I mean, I've got 3 or 4, and I'm sure you guys have a computer and a laptop. I mean, your phone's technically a computer. Well, how about this one? No online database will replace your daily newspaper. No CD-ROM can take the place of a competent teacher, and no computer network will change the way governments work. Newsweek magazine. It's hilarious. And Newsweek, actually, 17 years later, the only way you could buy Newsweek was actually exclusively online. So I thought that was quite funny. Another thing they were wrong about, a little thing called the internet. Yeah, internet may be just a passing fad as millions give up on it. The internet is a fad. Most things that succeed don't require retraining of 250 million people. Okay, Wired Magazine, 1995, and I love this one. I predict the internet will go spectacularally supernova, and in 1996, catastrophically collapse. Now, this guy is the creator of Ethernet, which powers every single computer network, including the internet. So even he got it wrong. The fact is, though, that Bitcoin's actually growing twice as fast as the internet. So this is a chart that shows you the growth from 130 million users to 1 billion users. Now, the internet did that in 7.5 years between 1997 and 2005. And Bitcoin's projected to do it in just 4 years, nearly twice as fast from now until 2025. So it's pretty crazy. In fact, Bitcoin has doubled since the start of the year. So it's over 220 million users in the first 6 months of this year. So it's already more than a fifth of the way to that $1 billion mark, 1 billion user mark. And we're still not even at the end of 2021. The really important thing I want to explain to you is what's known as the tipping point. So this is based on a very, very good book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Tipping Point. And it looks at the adoption of any revolutionary technology. So it starts with your innovators who are building the technology. Then you get your early adopters. Then you go into the early majority. This is called the S curve of adoption, by the way. Then it goes to late majority, and then you have all the people coming in at the end. Now, this has applied to every single revolutionary technology that's ever existed. Airplanes, personal computers, mobile phones, the internet, and it's also applying to Bitcoin as well, or at least that's what we believe is going to play out. So I remember doing this presentation at the start of the year, and we were actually in the early adopter phase. Now we're actually past the tipping point. Yes, Bitcoin is past the 15% adoption rate for people who have access to it. And so we're definitely going into the mainstream now. So it's not too late to get in, but if you wait before jumping into this space, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you're probably going to miss what the big investment opportunity is. In fact, we are in the first stage of mainstream adoption. I'm sure you know that El Salvador has made Bitcoin legal tender now, which means everyone has to be able to pay for it if you're a merchant or a business. And they're actually using volcano-powered energy to actually mine Bitcoin. So it's actually going to drive a lot of the renewable energy technology because people want to make more and more money out of mining what I believe is going to become the biggest monetary network, or at least one of them that we'll use. Other countries looking at following suit, a whole bunch of them, particularly in South America, where they've really been disadvantaged by the US government's money policy for years. And billionaires who are skeptics are pretty much all in now, or most of them are getting in. This former hedge fund billionaire picks Bitcoin over gold. Billionaire Tim Draper moved a lot of his stocks to Bitcoin. This was last year. Stanley Druckenmiller owns Bitcoin. These guys were all against it at the start and basically said that it could beat gold. And Paul Tudor Jones is a massive investor in the space, reckons that Bitcoin will be the best inflation hedge. Now, you do need to be wary, though. There are a lot of risks and challenges in the crypto space. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually lose your money pretty quickly through mistakes and a whole bunch of other things, scams or whatever else. So do be aware of the different scams. There's phishing websites, payment spoofing, Ponzi's, other scams. If you don't manage your security well, you can lose your crypto, you can get hacked. There's things like ICOs and rug pulls where basically they steal your money. You can make bad investment decisions, especially by not managing your emotions. If you don't have good education, you can make bad decisions, and there can be a lot of market volatility. So these are all things, if you know what you're doing, are pretty easy to navigate, and that's what we teach our members. But it is something to be aware of when you are entering this space. And what's really important, and this is going to be one of the exercises that I take you guys through now, is going to be understanding your risk profile. Okay, and it's basically an evaluation of your willingness and ability to take risks. And it's important for determining what a proper investment allocation would look like in a portfolio that you build for your investment money. And it is a way to mitigate risks and threats, as well as to try and earn some return, which is the whole point of having an investment. So I'm going to take you through an exercise now. This is in the workbook, and I did link that there for you. So I'm actually going to flick across to the workbook because we're going to run through it there. And just tell me if you can still see this on your screen at the moment. Someone give me a nod or chuck a yes.
Yes.
Great. So look, if you don't have the workbook, just grab a pen, write these answers down now, and then you can go and print this out later, or you can even do this later. I just want to talk you through it. So it'll help you kind of understand where you are in your risk profile. So let's go through the questions. How much do you have invested already? So do you have a business? Do you have property? Do you have shares, gold, crypto? If you have a lot of it, so you have a lot of your money invested in these assets, you'd be a 5. And if you haven't started yet, you'd be a 1. And then there's a scale in between. And you can put anything between 1 to 4, wherever you think you fit. So if you've got a little bit, then maybe you're a 2, etc. So just write down from 1 to 5 as to how much wealth you think you have investing at the moment. Don't be afraid if it's a 1. That's the point, is just to see where you're at. Now, how diversely are you invested into a range of different assets? So if you look at these ones up here, business, property, shares, gold, and crypto, do you own some or all of them? If you do, you put a 5. If you don't have any, then you put a 1. And depending on how many you do have, then you'd be in the middle. So maybe if you got 2 of them, you'd be a 2, and 4 of them, you'd be a 4, etc. So write down a number for that. Give you a bit of time to do that. Okay, what level of risk do you believe you can manage when investing? So if you think you're a high risk person, yes, there's some high returns, but you really need to be comfortable with a lot of risk. And you should never invest money that you can't afford to lose. So you don't put rent money in and mortgage money and things like that. But if you put some money in and then the next day it went down 50%, are you going to freak out? That means your appetite for risk isn't quite there. So if you think you're low risk and you like stable investments where you've got a little stress and you can go to sleep well at night, it's a 1. And if you're comfortable with a lot of risk to try and maximize your results, it's a 5, and then go anywhere in between. 2 more. 4th one is, do you like to have control over your investments or have someone else manage them for you? Okay, so if you like to have control and visibility around where your money's going and you have time for that and you can educate yourself on the rest of it, you go a 5. And then at the other end of the scale is you don't really want control or visibility. You're either happy for someone to manage it, or you're happy for just to put it on a set and forget, and it just ticks along and ticks away without you. So if you want it to be hands off, you put a 1. And if you want to have control and have a lot of involvement, you put a 5, and then rate yourself as in between 1, 2, 3, or 4. Last one is, do you have the time and interest in education and learning about your investments, or prefer really not to bother about getting too involved. So it's similar to the last question. If you want to be active and you want to be deeply involved and follow everything and engage, it's a 5. Otherwise, if you want to be more passive, it's a 1. So this one's more about control, and this one's more about how active around the education and the learning do you actually want to be. Now, I want you to total those up and give yourself a number. And in the interest of time, I'm going to move a little bit quickly through here just so I can make sure we get through the other content for you. So you should have a total now, and the total should be about out of 25. And so if you're 10 or below, then you're probably a newer or a more passive investor. So this might dictate, it does dictate how much risk you want to take, but it also might dictate how much of your money you actually might want to put into crypto. So, and look, we're not financial advisors, so we can't give you personalized advice. This is kind of just a guide, but potentially, and yeah, chuck your scores in the chats, guys, because I have got this up and I am watching it. Potentially, you might not want to put more than 10% of whatever your investment money is into an asset class like crypto, because it is highly volatile. And then all the way at the end of the scale, you've got, if you're 19 or above, then you're either a really experienced investor or you like to be quite active, or both. And in that case, you can usually afford to put a little bit more money in because you are more active and educated around managing your risk. And then most of you are probably going to be somewhere in between, where maybe you're not completely passive or new, but you're not really experienced, and you might be in the middle. So it just gives you a bit of a view where you're at. Again, if you're under 10, you probably don't want to be taking big risks. And if you're over 19, maybe you do have a decent risk appetite. So let's just give you something to think about before you choose to undertake on this journey. Cool. So I'm going to keep going along, guys, so I can make sure I get through this content for you. So yeah, and it does relate to then how you structure your portfolio. So we usually use 5 that we talk about inside the Breakout Solutions business. You've got conservative, and then you get a little bit more risky as you go down. Safe, balanced, aggressive, and then we've got one called YOLO, which is you only live once, and that's really for the experienced investors. If you scored over 19, that would go into something like that. And so there are different ways for you to structure your portfolio. This goes for even outside of crypto. We just specialize inside the crypto space. So I'm going to give you a couple examples now of some of our clients and our members. So Andrew is one of them. So he basically had no idea how he was going to start in crypto. He knew it was risky. And so we were able to actually teach him the initial steps, how to start investing and think critically of the next move. And since then, he was actually able to triple his portfolio and did pretty well. So, and most of these examples will have a decent amount of money. You can start with as little as $500 or even less in crypto, right? This is just where these guys started. So he started about $15,000 Australian and got it over 30. So, we were able to identify what was important with him. And like everyone else that we talk to, we have a breakout, what's called a breakout session with them. And we kind of understand what's going to be best suited for them, factor in things like their risk profile and things like that. So here's one example where he was quite hands-on. He wanted to be very active. So we kind of skilled him up, and then he was able to go off on his own. The other end of the scale is this guy, Steven. So he's a client of ours, or he invested 25,000. It grew to 100,000. He took it out and bought a house. So he's actually a really good stereotypical example of what you can achieve in this space. So he had investments, but he didn't want to be active. He wanted to be completely passive. And so we're able to identify that through the breakout session and come up with a series or a plan for him, what we call a success plan, and a range of strategies that was allowed him to be able to do this. So this is a picture of his portfolio at one point where he was up $75,000. It was up at 100. It actually went a lot higher, went like 120, 130, then it dropped. And then he basically took it out and bought a house. And this is his email to us, where he said, feel free to use me as a reference. I've witnessed the process from start to finish, and I'm a fan. And when his cash frees up after his purchase, he's going to reinvest. So it just shows that, you don't need to be super active or super engaged to actually do well in this market, but you definitely need to know how to navigate it, because it can be quite complicated. Right, so all good information, but how do you actually profit from this? So I'm going to give you some information here. So I've signed it down to basically 3 key methods to generate profit and passive income from digital assets. The first is to invest, what I call investing. This is more about buying and holding good projects with really good, what's known as fundamentals, typically with a medium to longer term time horizon. And it involves building a diversified portfolio so that you can maximize profits whilst minimize risk. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you do need to know a little bit about what you're doing in order to build that and maintain that. Then you've got passive income. So these are strategies to generate recurring income from your digital asset investments. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of strategies around that, like earning interest, rewards, from staking, farming, interest. There's a whole bunch of different things there. Okay, that's passive income. The last one's through trading, and I'm referring to actively trading here. So day trading, swing trading. Sometimes there's scalping in there. So it involves basically buying low and selling high. It's actually very, very difficult to be a successful trader. In fact, less than 1% of people actually make money trading longer term. And yet it's where most people start, because they're sold the whole, oh, you can become a day trader and quit your job and become a millionaire. Less than 1% of people longer term do that. Now, I do all three of these, but probably 98% of the wealth I've built through digital assets have been through the first two, not through trading. Okay. And I spend way less time having to manage them, and they just work for me, and I can spend most of my time helping other people do the same. Right. So just be careful about getting caught in that day trading hype. But one thing's really important in crypto is don't get caught up on short-term price action. So a lot of people will see, well, the price goes up. So this is the latest wave in, January to May this year, where all the hype started to build up and all the media and all the positivity. And a lot of people end up buying in because they hear, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to the moon and it's shooting up. It's at 63K. I'm buying in, right? But they don't have a lot of conviction. They don't understand it. They don't even know what they're buying most of the time in a lot of these projects. So they end up selling at the bottom when it pulls back, because they're freaking out like, I'm going to lose all my money. So I better grab what I can now. And those people who did buy there and sell there lost half their money. And meanwhile, all they had to really do was hold on, and their money actually will turn positive in a growing market. And this is the chart that will actually prove this to you. So this is a Bitcoin chart from way back when it started, back around 2009, 2010, all the way to today. So all you need to do is really think longer term with this stuff. So had you have bought the top of every single one of these markets or these waves, you would still be up considerably. So if you bought the top back here in 2012, you would have lost something like 50, 60% of your investment. And if you'd held on to it today, which is hard to do for this long, you're up 200,000%, which is crazy. This top here in 2013, you're up 41,000%. From this one here, went down for a long time, it went down. And then you're up, 5,000%. This was the bull run of 2017. I know some people that bought in at the top. In fact, I'm going to run through a case study. So you bought in at the top. Yes, you would have had to have held on for a couple of years, but you doubled your money, right? And so now the only people that are really down are people that bought in the top here. And all you got to do is hold. All you got to do is hold on. And, by the end of the year, you're definitely going to be up, in my view. So that's a key thing to think about as well. But look, if you just go and buy Bitcoin and store that longer term, you're going to do all right. But what I want you guys to understand is the real profit opportunity is actually in what's known as altcoins. So these are all the other coins and tokens that exist. I'm sure you've heard of stuff like Dogecoin and SafeMoon, and I wouldn't suggest going and buying those, by the way, because they don't have great fundamentals, but they're most of the type of coins that people hear about first. And like, oh, I'm buying some Dogecoin, and they buy in at the top and then they lose all their money. So, but check out some of these gains. So this was the last bull run in 2016-17, Ethereum 15,000%, Stellar 36,000%, Ripple 54, NEM 56, Neo 126, 233, 614, 1.5 million% in Verge. Now, that might be a little bit confusing as to what does that all mean? Well, a $500 investment in each of these would have given you $77,000 for Ethereum, $180,000 for Stellar, $274 for Ripple, $282, $631, $1 million, $3 million, $500 into $7.5 million for Verge. Now, let me make a point very clear. It's pretty much practically impossible to get these exact gains, because this is like you have to buy in right at the start and you have to sell right at the end. And that's not possible, nor should you try and do that. Okay, so these might be theoretically possible, but not practically. Okay, but what I want you to understand is that the digital asset class is the only investment vehicle, really, or asset class that has the potential to transform one investment into life-changing gains. Okay, I've been lucky enough to have multiple of those from back in 2017, and I believe I'm sitting on more multiple of those if I can just wait another 2, 3, 4 years. Okay, so this is the power in this space. So here are some of the gains in just the last 12 months. Now, Doge, yes, had you bought at the start of the year, you'd be up quite a lot. It might be down a little bit from this because this is a slightly older slide. But yes, if you had got in the right time, you would have done well, but it has to be at the right time. Woo, 4,007%, Telcoin, 19,000%. Now this coin here, I bought this in 2017. I think I put about $500 into it. At the start of the year, it was only worth 1,000. And I went, oh, I'm going to sell that and buy something else. I sold it, and then it went absolutely parabolic. That $500 investment, I think, would have been like $20,000 or $25,000 had I just held that project and not sold it. And there's a lesson there for everyone, another one for me. Chile's 2,200%, Polygon 4,700, Solana 2,600, Theta 1,700, Terra. Now, what I want you to understand is these 4 projects at the bottom, these are part of our portfolio. So we build and we manage a portfolio, and that's what we train our clients to do. We provide to some of our clients. So those projects were part of our portfolio. Okay, so we identified those earlier on in the year. They were in our portfolio, and they've done pretty well for us. In fact, this is the performance of our portfolio. This is since December last year. So a $5,000 investment got as high as $63,000 at the peak in May. So it's over 12x, and a lot of members were just kind of taking profits up here. Now, it had a big pullback in May. This is until July, by the way, this slide. And then it was still up 6x, even with that big pullback. Okay, so $5,000 actually was still $30,000 at the end of July. Now, I actually moved this to a new platform that made it a little bit easier for us to manage. And this is the performance, at least to recently. This is on the new portfolio. So this is basically from the end of July. So the green is our portfolio performance, and the gold is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is up nearly 50%. We're up about 125%. And since July, we're more than double the portfolio, basically. So, I think that's about 11 or 12x for anyone who was part of us since December last year, who was part of our membership or our client base, and obviously who stayed on and held on this whole time. So this gives you a view of what's possible in a positive market. We're definitely in a positive market. I do think there's only potentially another 2 to 6 months left in this cycle. So, if you're not in yet, it's time to think about doing so. The more time you leave it, the more chance you're going to get in at the top and probably have a higher risk on your money. So Lance is one of our clients who is on board. He was actually an existing investor. He owned Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of others. And he said here that we helped him get into a well-diversified portfolio that he would never have considered without us, and he 3x his money. So he's in New Zealand. He started with, he ended up putting in about 39K. He was up over 100K at one point. And I think he's even doing better than that now recently. Moving on. Okay, so now the one thing I want to teach you guys, the secret to building wealth. It's not even a secret really, but it's the number one guaranteed strategy for building wealth. So show me a bit of enthusiasm and chuck me a yes in a comment that you actually want to hear, like, what is the guaranteed strategy for building wealth? And I mean it. I mean, it's absolutely guaranteed. It's not mine. It's something that I've learned. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got a couple there. There's enough there. Thanks, Marissa. Thought maybe the YouTube crew might have been a little bit more excited about it. Okay. Now, before you roll your eyes on this, just bear with me with it, okay? It's called passive income. It's called compound interest, right? It's called compound interest. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of compound interest. I'm sure you have, okay? But just bear with me with it. So compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Apparently that's by Einstein. There was no validation of that that I could find on the internet, but it's a bloody good quote. Now, the problem is that most people think they understand compound interest, but most people end up paying it. So I normally do like raise your hand type question here. I'm not going to do it because, I want to keep moving. But if you've got a credit card, if you've got a mortgage, if you've got any type of loan or anything like that, you are paying compound interest. Compound interest is working against you. It's stealing your wealth instead of you using it for your advantage and building wealth. And that is the difference. That is the difference between the wealthy and the non-wealthy. That's pretty much it. You want to buy income generating assets, and you want that to compound. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a really good book on it. Okay. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically earning interest on interest. So this is a chart here that shows you if you just put in a little bit of extra money every year, then the money that you have at the end of, in this case, 40 years, grows exponentially because that interest then starts earning interest. So you're reinvesting that money and earning interest. That is the secret to building wealth, guys. That is it right there. What I want to show you is there are some really good passive income opportunities inside the crypto space. And I just want to show you one of the portfolios that I've got set up that's kind of ticking away while I'm sleeping, or while I'm working, or while I'm teaching you guys right now. That's earning me passive income. So I've got 5 assets in this one, and I put roughly about $2,000 each Australian into it. So Bitcoin, about $2,000, is more than doubled since then, and I'm earning 6% annually on that. APY means annual percentage yield, and that just means how much percent on my money am I earning yearly. Okay, 6%. So it's giving me about $257 a year. Ethereum, I'm staking plus a liquidity program around $2,000. It's earning me 13% yearly. That's $276. I'm doing stablecoin, which is pegged to the US dollar, so there's no volatility of the crypto market, about 15%, so that's about $300 a month. And then we got what's known as diamonds in the rough. So these are projects that we identify through our research service that have the potential to be like the next blue chips, right? So there's two of those that's actually earning me quite a lot. I think they might have come down a little bit recently, but at the time of doing this, they were earning me about $1,700 a year and $1,000 a year. So if I total it up, basically I put in about $10,000. At the time of doing this, it was worth $12,000, giving me $307 a month or $3,600 annually. That's 30% annual returns. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the interest options in the market at the moment, but if you try and put your money in the bank, you're earning like 0.1%, right? It's like 300 times more. Or some banks around the world, you actually have to pay for them to hold your money. That's crazy when there's mechanisms inside, you know, the blockchain and the DeFi space and just crypto in general to have these types of earnings. So I want you to keep this in mind when I go through the next and last exercise that I'm going to go through, which is probably going to be the most valuable one out of all three of these for you. So Dave, just want to run through Dave's another one of our clients. So I talked about someone who bought the top in 2017, 19,600. Dave pretty much timed the top. I don't know, I'm not sure how much he put in. I don't think it was more than 5 or 10K, but he bought the top in 2017 and he held on to it. He held on to it for a couple of years, and he came to us basically December in 2020 and said, you know, I want someone who knows what they're doing basically, so I can get back involved. And yeah, he's basically said here that he's tripled his portfolio. In fact, it's more now. And the best gains have come from projects he'd never have discovered without our help. So he put in a total of around 30,000. At the time of doing this, it was up at 134. I know that he's taken out his risk capital and he's flying off pure profits now. So, you know, that again gives you an example of, you know, what is possible when you can put all these elements together. And we came up with a particular plan for Dave when we had that breakout session with him around what would be the best way for him to get involved, get invested. He actually ended up being pretty passive and then dived in and went deep into our education and our membership and learned stuff. And now he's pretty self-sufficient doing some of the advanced strategies as well. Cool. All right. So the last thing I want to finish on today is going to be a little mechanism, a little spreadsheet I've built called the Financial Freedom Formula. So yeah, I've zipped through all that. Hopefully that's been really, really useful. And we're going to dive into this. So this will also be in your workbook. So it should be on page 7. So the second last page. And so basically what we're going to do is just fill out a couple values here. And then, look, don't download this right now and try and do this. I want you to watch me go through how I use this spreadsheet. And then you can always watch this recording later on YouTube or whatever and apply this to yourself using that link. It's a free resource that you can grab. But I just want you to go through this exercise with me now. And then so you learn how to do this. So firstly, basically your financial freedom formula it's all about to be financially free. I mean, there are lots of ways to define this, but basically you want to have a wage that you live off that you don't really have to work for. Okay. You're earning it passively from whatever your investments are. It doesn't have to just be crypto. It can be anything. In fact, I encourage you to have assets in like money in all types of assets. Definitely crypto should be one of them. So basically you need to work out either for you or you and your partner or you and your family, what is your ideal annual living budget? Okay. So how much money per year do you think you need in order to be able to do whatever you want to do, live a good life? Okay. Now the example that I'm going to use today, in fact, I'll fill these in here as an example because I've got this in the sheet ready to go. So I'm going to put it in. I'm just going to say, let's just assume this is me. Mine's going to be a little bit higher than this because I have goals to have some large impact in the world. But hey, let's say if I didn't have those goals, I reckon $150,000 a year would be a really nice wage for me to live off and just do what I need to do, at least for me personally. So write down whatever that is for you. The spreadsheet is built in dollars. I haven't tried to do it in other currencies yet. So just write down whatever's relevant in your currency and, we'll see if it'll work inside the spreadsheet. Then the key to basically financial freedom is living from your passive income. And so you're living from the percentage of your interest or your yield, which I've talked about a couple of times today as being APY, annual percentage yield. Remember that if you take that interest and you compound it, that is the secret to building wealth. And then eventually there's enough of that money that's coming in annually that can actually pay for that wage. That's when you become financially free. Okay, that's how it works. So now, if you're not sure, like if you have existing investments, then you can start there. So if if you've got a rental property or something like that, maybe you know that you're getting 5% a year from that. If you're not sure what you are getting from your investments, or you don't have investments, just start this off at 5%, because that's a kind of reasonable rate that you can achieve kind of, in the stock market and other things like that. So just chuck that in if you're not sure what your current rate is there. Then you want to be entering in, like, what is your current debt-free assets? Okay, do you have a house? Is it mortgage? Then that's not a number that you put in here. Like, if you've fully paid off your house, let's say you've got a $700,000 house and you've fully paid it off, then you can actually leverage that in order to earn passive income, right? There are multiple ways to do that. So you'd put $700,000 there. If you have a house that's like, fully mortgaged, or maybe you've got a $1 million house that you've paid off 10% of it, then you have $100,000 here. So if you know what that is, great. If you don't, just leave it at zero. I'm going to leave it at zero just to keep this example pretty simple. Then you want to identify, like, what is your current monthly income, either for you or you and your partner, or you and your family. So how much money are you actually earning per month? So if you know your wage, let's say, I just crank up a calculator here. Let's say you're on $100,000 a year, just as an example. Then all you do is you divide that by 12 months. Oops, I don't know what I was doing there. Divide that by 12 months, and it'd be roughly $8,300 per month. Okay, so you might know what your monthly wage is. If you don't, if it's a fortnightly one, then look, just double it. It's close enough for now. If it's a weekly one, just times it by 4. That's close enough for now, and put that in. Then you want to work out what is your current monthly living expenses. So if you don't know exactly what these are, just write them down now, and you can come back and fix them again later. So what are your monthly living expenses? So the idea here is, whatever you're earning minus whatever your expenses are, then there should be some money left over, and that's what you're saving. Or in this case, I'm going to show you, if you invest that money, how do you actually achieve financial freedom? So in the example here, I'm going to say $80,000 a month. Yeah, not quite yet anyway, but that is one of the goals. So current monthly income, $8,000, current monthly expenses, $6,000. That's what I'm going to use for this example. Okay, so work out whatever that is for you. And now I'm going to flick over to the financial freedom formula document. So this isn't the exact one that's in your workbook, but the one that you have will look exactly like this. This is just a different version that I'm working off. Now, the way this works is, we've got values that we're going to enter in on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, it's going to tell us. I love this document. It's such a cool exercise to go through. How long is it going to take you to reach financial freedom? Okay, how many years is it going to take you, based on everything that you input? Okay, so I'm going to start playing around with this, and over here we're going to see this change. So at the moment, with the values I've got in, and I've just plugged in the values that I put in that workshop in the slide document. Ideal living budget, $150,000. Annual interest or yield, 5%. So therefore, my financial freedom target is $3 million, which means if I have assets, worth $3 million, and I'm getting 5% annual percentage yield, that gives me $150,000 to live off. That's the simple formula. Okay. How many debt-free? Well, what's my total debt-free assets? I don't have anything in there to start with. What's my income stream? $8,000 a month. If you have multiple income streams, you can list those here and you can enter those in there. Current living expenses, $6,000. How much of those savings am I going to invest? So that's a key thing as well. This is assuming that you're investing all your savings, and therefore how much you're going to be investing per month and how much you're going to be investing per year. Down here, it's if you have any once-off amount of money that you want to start with, and you enter that in here. So at the moment, with all of these values, it's going to take me 40 years to reach financial freedom. Okay, 40 years. Now, I know I probably look like I'm 25 years old, but I'm not. I'm a little bit older than that. So 40 years is a bit too long for me. So this is a case of now, how can I speed this up, right? So we can go through and say, okay, well, let's say you did have a house. Let's say I paid off half of my $1 million house or something, and I have $500,000 of assets. Now, I don't know if you saw, but it went from 41 years down to 37. Okay, so by having that head start by that asset that's already there, I've just knocked off 4 years. Fantastic, cool. Well, what else could we be doing? Well, we could earn some more income. So maybe I'll take up a side hustle, or I might do some coaching or do some freelance jobs or something on the side and earn an extra $1,000 a month. Right, so I'll work a bit harder and I'll get more income coming in. Okay, so I put that $1,000 in, and boom, went from 37 years to 30 years. This is the power of compound interest working for you, not against you. Okay, this is the power of it. And watch as I go through the rest of the sheet. We're nearly done here. Current living expenses. Now, the thing is you could reduce your living expenses, but I don't really recommend doing that unless you have a lot of surplus. Like, don't cut your quality of life for this. You want to motivate yourself, learn new skills, or invest smarter and work out how you can level up and earn more income rather than try and sacrifice your quality of life. If you can cut, bad investments or bad money spending, stop smoking, stop drinking, or, eat more at home or something like that to reduce your cost base, great. Don't sacrifice your quality of life to do this, because you'll be living from scarcity, okay, instead of abundance. So here I'm leaving that as it is. I'm going to invest 100%. And let's say I might say, well, I'm actually going to start with $50,000. I'm like, let's chuck in some more money to start our investing journey. I put that in, and that only knocked off 1 year. We can see in year one, I'm investing $86,000 and then $36,000 every year after that. The one biggest element of this that massively changes how long it's going to take you to hit your financial freedom target, or how long it's going to take you to become financially free, is your annual interest and yield. If you can make some smarter investments, or even just start investing, or wherever you're at, this makes the biggest difference. Watch this. This says 5%. I'm just going to put that to 8, from 5 to 8, and it goes from 29 years to 17. I just shaved 12 years off how long it's going to take me to reach financial freedom by simply upping my annual percentage yield by 3%. Now, you saw what one of my portfolios was earning before, 30% annually in crypto. Now, that is risky. I don't recommend everyone puts all their money into, DeFi technology and crypto. No, it's about balance. But if you can just increase it by a couple percentage points, let's go up to 10%, another 2. We're down to 12 years. We've just shaved 25 years off, and then so on and so forth, 12%, there all of a sudden I'm down to 10 years. So that just shows you the power of compound interest when it works for you. And yeah, this has been a super useful little calculator that I know I've used personally, and I've taken, many of our members, the clients, through and given away like I'm doing here today for you guys. So I hope that's been, well, when you go through it, I hope it's really useful for you and gives you something to think about and some goals to think about around, how you're going to reach that financial freedom number, and put some numbers down. And what Wassim went through about your goals, so incredibly important to write stuff down and visualize it and imagine you're there, but then also have a plan using numbers and strategies on how you're actually going to get there. Pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. We do have one. I'm just going to finish on the last slide, which is our free resources. So I do have these also. I can cut, copy, and paste these as well, which I'm just going to do now as I'm chatting, because save you guys having to write it all down. Cool. So it should be. Oh, the YouTube one is not letting me send it all in one go, so I'll do it in 2 goes. So they're going to go through these. Our community, the Digital Wealth Collective, it's free. Everything on here is free. Sign up to that. That gives you access to our Telegram group, gives you access to our portal. We've got free resources in there. 100%, if you're even semi-interested in what crypto can provide, you definitely want to take up that little free membership that we have. Our website is breakoutsolutions.com. Our crypto, there's a members group in here, and we also just run an open Telegram group called Cryptoverse. So breakoutnow.co/Cryptoverse. So this is, again, if you want to get more involved and join a community that is, doing well and looking to continue to do well from crypto, you join that. YouTube, so jump on our YouTube. That's it's mostly me going through kind of a little bit more technical videos, but we are going to start to do all sorts of content through there pretty soon. And then also, if you want to have a chat to us, you saw Wassim present a little bit earlier. Wassim's our head coach, and I work closely with Wassim to help our clients and our members on our vision. Our vision is to help as many people as we can escape the financial matrix, this debt-driven, centralized financial matrix. If you saw the start of the presentation, we did a video. If you didn't, watch the replay, watch that video at the start so you understand what the financial matrix is. And our goal is to help as many people as we can escape from that. We've both been through our financial challenges. I nearly lost my business through COVID as well. You know, I've had a mental breakdown, you know, in my past as well. So I've been through the challenges and come out the other side absolutely blooming and doing fantastically well. And now we want to be able to help others as well as continue to achieve that for ourselves. So Wassim, how about I might loop you back in and maybe you can talk a little bit more to that last point.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Look, guys, honestly, this is purely just come meet me, have a chat. Let's see how we can collaborate. I want to get to know as many people as possible. I do understand that the crypto market, there's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of scammers out there. So I'm putting myself out there just to connect with people, to get to know where you are, where you want to get to. There's no agenda behind it, purely networking. And then if something comes out of it that benefits both of us, then just go for it. But I'm just all about meeting new people, because after what I've been through, like Michael said, you know, both of us have been through our financial challenges. I've lost everything due to COVID. I hit the depths of depression, and I've come out and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I know I can add value to a lot of people, which is why I'm putting myself out there. Feel free to choose a time that suits you. I have opened up my calendar pretty much from 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. at night. Choose a spot that suits you and let's have a chat. That's all there is to it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So I'm stopping the live stream now and you can connect with the people in the room.